outspoken advocate for Ukraine, a champion for Ukraine, someone who has given up a tremendous amount of his time and energy to work with his colleagues and lead in a bipartisan effort. Someone who has traveled to Ukraine on numerous occasions, has introduced meaningful legislation, amended legislation, communicates with the President of Ukraine, and continues to speak on a daily basis on the Senate floor. We are deeply grateful for his leadership and efforts. It is my honor to introduce the co-founder and co-chair of the Senate Ukraine Caucus, a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and ranking member of the Senate Homeland Security Committee from Ohio, Senator Rob Portman.
Andy, Jaku, thank you. Thank you for your leadership of the Ukrainian Congress and helping to organize this great gathering today. Thank you for your friendship, and most importantly, thank you for your passionate advocacy for Ukraine, not just today, but over the decades. I see some of these signs out here. And the signs make the point that Ukraine made a decision 8 years ago to get out from under the thumb of Russia and to become an independent, sovereign country. They made a decision to be like us. The Euromaidan was about freedom, and it was about prosperity and free enterprise, but ultimately it was about letting them chart their own course, right? That's why Putin is so upset about Ukraine. It's not just about NATO. It's about a country that has chosen to be free, and a country that therefore offends the Russians because they are concerned that Russians can look across the border and see their neighbors and often their family and say, why can't we live like that? Yes. That's why we are here, to ensure that they can live like that, to ensure that they can chart their own course, to ensure we can push back these atrocities from Russia. So thank you for being here. As was said so well, today we are one. Today we are all Ukrainians. Slava Ukraini! Yes, glory to the heroes. Herom Slava. And in the midst of this atrocity, there are so many heroes to glorify. The brave border guards on Snake Island, the grandmother handing Russian soldiers sunflower seeds, saying, if you don't leave, I wanted to give you something beautiful that can grow up on your grave. The courageous president of Ukraine, who when asked by Western countries if they could help him escape, responded, I need ammunition, not a ride. I need ammunition, not a ride. Yesterday I spoke with President Zelensky along with some of my colleagues. He continues to be strong and resolute. And today we thank him for that resolve. We thank him for his courage. And we support him in leading the Ukrainian people. Glory to the everyday heroes who are caring for the wounded, who are feeding desperate families, who are living in the basement, who are living in subway stations, who don't know where their next meal will come from. And glory to the professional soldiers and citizens alike who are taking up arms and putting their lives on the line for freedom, for their homeland, and for a better future for Ukraine. Yes, Slava Heryorum. Heroyam Slava. Some may ask, and even some of my colleagues have asked me, why is a senator from Ohio so concerned about Ukraine? Why did we start the caucus? Why have we been fighting for the Ukrainian people and their right to chart their own course? Well, one of the reasons is this flag in front of you, which is from Ohio, because there are tens of thousands of Ohioans of Ukrainian descent. Some are here today. Martha's here, Andy's here, Many others are here. I was with you last Sunday, a week ago, it seems like a year ago, in Cleveland, Ohio, Parma, where we had a prayer vigil and we had a demonstration in support of Ukraine, a rally like this. Over 1,000 people showed up. The crowd was pouring outside of the church. Not everybody could fit in, but everybody was praying. And we prayed. We prayed for your loved ones that many of you have who are in Ukraine this evening, tonight in Ukraine, as darkness has come upon Ukraine and the shells continue to fly. Your families, your friends are there, and we pray for them. And we prayed for protection for the brave soldiers, some of whom are taking up arms for the first time as citizen soldiers. And of course we prayed for the security and wisdom for the duly elected government of Ukraine. The duly elected government of Ukraine. I was there in 2014 as the Maidan was still smoldering and saw the commitment of the Ukrainian people to chart their own course. But I also was an election observer at the first presidential election. And I was able to report back to my colleagues, this was a fair election. This was an election that ensured that the Ukrainian people had the leadership that they voted for. What a novel thought. And today, that leadership is under fire. And so we prayed for them as well. But even if I didn't have a single constituent of Ukrainian descent, I would be here. Why? Because Ukraine matters to America and to all freedom-loving countries and people of the world. All of us. This is where, in our generation, in our time, the cause of freedom must be defended. This is where, in our generation, in our time, we must protect those who wish to chart their own course, protect their sovereign, independent country. This is where we are being tested. Not just the United States, but our allies and freedom-loving people all over the world. When the people of Ukraine chose to get rid of a corrupt Russian-backed government 8 years ago, for a second time, they chose freedom over tyranny. They chose democracy over authoritarianism. They chose to ensure that the people of Ukraine would have the ability to chart their own course. That is what we, in the freedom-loving countries of the world, proclaim every day. Now is not the time to shirk our responsibilities. Now is time to step forward and help the people of Ukraine shoulder to shoulder. Ukrainians are defending their homeland and fighting back, and have already denied President Putin his early goals. Putin severely underestimated the power of freedom and the power of the Ukrainian people. There is no question about that. In Congress, we now must do more. I say to the Russian commanders and to the officials in Moscow, there is another choice. Stop this atrocity. Refuse the orders to kill innocent neighbors. Stop this atrocity that has already taken the lives of thousands of innocent civilians, men, women, and children who want nothing more than to live in peace. I say to the commanders and to these officials, the world is watching. The war crimes are being recorded. You have a choice. In Congress, we must do more to tighten the sanctions, to tighten the noose on the Putin economy. We must do more to provide more military assistance to Ukraine. We must send more weapons, including anti-tank, anti-air equipment, communications gear, but in particular, I have been calling for the last several days and wrote a letter to the President and his people recently, a bipartisan plea to work with the countries of Poland, Romania, and Slovakia. They have airplanes that the Ukrainian pilots know how to fly and they desperately need them. This requires the United States of America to play a role. These countries are willing to sell or give their Soviet-era planes away, but they need to know from us that we will help them with more advanced aircraft in the future. We should do that. They are our allies. That's all this would take. Let's give President Zelensky and the Ukrainian people the protection they deserve by having aircraft in the air to stop that Russian column. Stop the atrocities, stop the murderers. There is bipartisan agreement on another issue, and that is we need to cut off the funding that is going to Vladimir Putin and his war machine. One example of this, just one but an important one, is not to buy Russian oil and send blood money to Russia. Why would we be importing Russian oil? Let's use our own natural resources here in North America. We have the resources. We should not be dependent on the Russian oil, and we should not be sending them $40, $50 million a day to the war machine. We can do that. There is bipartisan agreement on this issue as well. Last week, I introduced legislation from Democrats and Republicans in equal numbers saying, let's stop buying Russian energy and rely on our own energy instead. We need to stop all Russian banks from their access to the international banking system. Not some, all. Russia must be financially cut off from the rest of the world. We've already seen the pain that some of the sanctions have caused. We need to remove all of them now from the international banking system. We need to exert maximum pressure to ensure no money sent to Russia to fund its war effort. I commend the administration's sanctioning of Russian oligarchs and wealthy citizens, but we need to do more. We need to move from freezing assets to seizing assets. And we can do that. Other countries have done it. Countries like France, countries like Germany. We should be out front as Americans in not just freezing, but seizing. By the way, those assets that we seize should be proceeds that go to the Ukrainian people to help in the humanitarian effort that is needed. Right now, our friends in Ukraine need our help. Right now. Immediately. Yesterday. We cannot let this call to action go unanswered. We cannot let the Ukrainian people continue to be at the mercy of a tyrannical dictator. We cannot sit by and watch as innocent civilians are brutally murdered. In the West, in America, we must stand up. All of us, for freedom. The world is watching. Our friends are watching. Our adversaries are watching. We must show the world that America stands with freedom. America stands with Ukraine. God bless Ukraine. God bless you for being here. Slava Ukraini!
Ohio is proud and grateful for Senator Portman, for his leadership, the flag bearer for all Ukrainian Americans and the Ukraine cause. За вдячність праці сенатора Портмена тричі слава! Слава! Слава!